Welcome back, everybody. We are here with episode 28 of Banter from the Bench podcast. This is going to be a fun one today. We've already got a flurry of moves happening around the NFL. Free agency technically hasn't even opened yet. Some guys are re-signing. There's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of smoke screens, guys getting released. So it looks like it's going to shape up to be a very busy offseason as free agency officially opens on Wednesday. NHL trade deadline happened. There were a lot of moves, some for our home team, Chicago Blackhawks, and some other moves. I know Dallas was pretty busy in the trade deadline, as well as Florida Panthers. So we will recap the trade deadline, and then finally, the best time of year, baby. March Madness is here. Conference tournaments are starting. Me and Sean are going to dive into who we think is going to win each conference tournament, and maybe we'll tease who we like going into March as well. So let's get ready to roll, guys.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, we got a lot of NFL activity. A lot of free agents have been, I guess we'll say, announced in terms of who's going to be available, with teams cutting players. And so, yeah, it's been pretty busy, even though free agency isn't technically open yet. NFL's been pretty active this offseason. So we'll kind of dive into some recent headline moves that have happened over in the NFL world. And I think the first place to start is maybe kind of a surprising trade that happened recently. The Raiders got their quarterback. They traded for Geno Smith from the Seahawks, and they gave up a third-round pick to get Geno Smith. And apparently the Seahawks are going to be eyeing Sam Darnold, not saying they're going to get them, but I'm going to be exploring the option of bringing Sam Darnold in to replace Geno Smith. What are your thoughts on that trade?
I think this is interesting for both teams, right? Like, I could see why Geno Smith would go to the Raiders because of Pete Carroll, but like, I feel like the Raiders just need to get younger, and this doesn't exactly help them do that. It also makes me think they're going to draft a quarterback in this year's draft, because then they can kind of like learn behind Geno Smith. So if that's the case, then, you know, maybe this makes sense for them. The Seahawks potentially going after Sam Darnold is a little confusing to me. My guess is this is just kind of their way of like punting at grabbing a quarterback this draft, because I think they're a little too deep to get one of the bigger names at quarterback. So I think they're just kind of punting for at least a season, maybe two, and reconsidering the quarterback position again in the future, while plugging that hole with a guy like Sam Darnold, who put together a really nice season. I personally think the Sam Darnold stuff is a little bit of a fluke, so I don't have a lot of hope for the Seahawks if that's the route that we go, but I'm also okay with that.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting move for Vegas. They're definitely, like you said, a team that kind of needs to get younger. But they're in a tough spot because A, they can't really draft a quarterback where they currently stand in the draft. B, they got Pete Carroll for a 3-year deal. Who knows if he'll even make it all 3 years. I think he's the oldest coach in the NFL right now. So, he could, have a change of heart and want to retire within the next couple of years. So they're kind of looking at like, you can't completely tank because of you don't know how long you're going to have Pete Carroll for. But also, I don't know how much Geno really moves the needle for the way that the Raiders are currently constructed. I mean, I think Geno's a pretty good quarterback. If I'm the Seahawks, I don't know. I would have rather just kept Geno instead of, if they end up getting Darnold, I think just keeping Geno would have been fine. Darnold's probably going to get paid a pretty decent chunk of change this offseason, and he'll probably get somewhat of a big contract in terms of length. I think if Seattle is not wanting to take a quarterback this year, I probably wouldn't sign someone like Darnold, because I would want to be as bad as I can for the next couple of years, because you got guys like Arch Manning and others who will be coming out in the draft, and seems to be like a lot better quarterback classes coming up in the next few years. But time will tell if that ends up being true or not. But Just kind of a weird deal, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, Geno's a lot better than what the Raiders had. I don't know how much better as of right now, depending on what else they do. They really are going to be. And if their eyes long term are not Geno and they want to eventually draft a quarterback, then I probably would be thinking the same thing, playing the same game that the Seahawks should. But again, like I said, I don't think they can afford to really just straight up tank when they bring in a coach like Pete Carroll, and I don't think he would have signed up for that. If that plan was presented to him, I don't think he would have taken that Raiders job. But maybe they'll be better. They got moves to make still before they can really improve. But they're in a tough division too, so no matter what they do, they got their work cut out for them. That's for sure.
I saw a stat that was like Geno Smith's statistics are like drastically better when he plays indoors. So maybe that's just the Raiders trying to tap into that stat. But I mean, still, Geno Smith is at the tail end of his career, so it's not like he's an up and coming guy. Raiders also stayed pretty busy. They just gave a lot of money, rightfully so, to Max Crosby. He just signed a 3-year, $106.5 million deal, 91 of it guaranteed to Max Crosby. Look, this guy earned his money. He said he wanted to stay with the Raiders. He kept his word. He got paid. He's one of the most highly productive defensive linemen, well, edge technically, in the NFL. And honestly, man, like, he earned that. I think it was a good job by the Raiders and a good job by Max Crosby.
Yeah, he's great. I think when you look at their division where they got Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and now Bo Nix looking like he's the next quarterback in line, you obviously need to keep guys around that can chase those guys and get to them. And obviously the Raiders are a very, 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 very long ways away from being in Super Bowl contention. But we kind of just did see the Eagles show, like, hey, if you can get to Mahomes and you can pressure him and you can get in his face all game long, you got a shot to beat him. So smart by the Raiders for keeping him. And honestly, good for Max Crosby for being loyal to the Raiders, because I don't think I would be if I was in his situation. But he loves it there. He wants to stay there. And it's nice to see the Raiders be able to retain really, really good talent that they have and some of the best talent in the NFL. So win-win for both of them.
I know a lot of teams would have paid him if they got the opportunity. And then last piece with these two teams specifically, Seahawks are granting DK Metcalf the approval to seek a trade. Originally, they were looking at somewhere between a second and a fifth, and then DK also wanted $30 million per year. It sounds like they're starting to backtrack on what they're asking in return for DK. I think a lot of that has to do with because of the money that's going to be thrown DK's way. Seattle's kind of like, well, we're not going to get that and him get paid. So interesting turn of events here in Seattle. I personally would have loved to see like the Bears go after DK if he wasn't seeking $30 million a year, because I feel like with a pick swap, giving Seahawks the 10th pick, us dropping to 18, and maybe something else, they could have gotten it done. But DK will find a home. I kind of hope it's not in the NFC North because he's just a massive wide receiver, but we'll see where he's going to go.
Yeah, it came out today. It's Sunday when we're recording this, that Diana Rossini reported that DK Metcalf supposedly wants to go somewhere warm and make $30 million a year. DK, I would also like to do that.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's probably not going to cost a ton to get him. Sounds like maybe second or third round pick might be able to get it done at this point.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointing, I guess, if you look at things from a bigger perspective for the Seahawks to, and things can change, for the Seahawks to give up Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and potentially not even get a first round pick, not even just one for either of those guys. Kind of tough, but I don't really quite know where he's going to go. If he wants to go somewhere warm, Chargers have a big need. I don't know if they can swing it financially, but Tampa kind of strikes me as a team that might make a move like this for DK. But again, I don't know financially whether or not they can handle something like that, because obviously wherever he's going, he's getting that extension with it too, and not just everyone can pay someone $30 million a year. But I believe the Chargers can do it. That would make sense. We'll see if that ends up being where he goes.
I have two sleeper teams. One of them's like a real big sleeper because it's within the division. Arizona Cardinals. They don't have a wide receiver one. They've got money to spend. It's warm. The other team I think is a little bit more likely, New Orleans Saints. They also, I mean, I guess you could say they technically have a wide receiver one, but like DK steps in, he's a wide receiver one. I think the Saints have a pretty nice size cap space, but I don't know why.
I think they just restructured Carr or a couple days ago, or maybe today.
Yeah.
I thought I saw they did something with his contract.
They did, yeah. I don't know why I could picture DK in a Saints uniform, but yeah. I mean, there's going to be so much movement happening this week so teams are technically allowed to start offering free agency contracts tomorrow on Monday. So you'll probably see a lot of numbers agreed to and years agreed to, and then they can officially sign the deal on Wednesday. So starting tomorrow, we'll see a lot of movement, and then Wednesday everything will be official. I'm just going to fire through some of these other moves. Sean, I'll let you take the floor if you want to comment on any of these. Ravens, really interesting move. Ronnie Stanley was extended, 3 years, $60 million deal. I didn't think the Ravens were going to be able to get this done. There was a lot of rumors of the Chiefs going after him, but really nice move by the Ravens. Ronnie Stanley, really, really productive left tackle for them.
Yep, and that eliminates him from hitting the market before teams can start exchanging numbers with him. He's a really, really good player. Would have been in high demand had he been a free agent, so good for the Ravens for being able to keep him.
Yep. Chiefs re-signed Hollywood Brown to a 1 year, $11 million deal. The only thing I have to add here is he made more money than I thought he would, given his production the last few years.
His production, and he was hurt so much last year. I know. I drafted him in fantasy thinking this guy's going to the Chiefs. I got him really late. I was like, this is going to be a steal, and then ended up dropping him just because of his injury that plagued him throughout the year. So, a little surprised on that number, but I mean, we'll get to it later on because it involves the Bears, but Chiefs have a little bit of extra money now, so.
Yep. Bengals are allowing Trey Hendrickson to seek a trade. This was probably one of the biggest, until today, the news dropped, and we'll get to that. This was probably the biggest storyline in the NFL this week. There's going to be a lot of teams interested in him. He's one of the most underrated, highly productive defensive ends in the NFL. I know the Bears are already calling, interested in him. We'll see what it takes to get a deal done, but I know there's going to be a lot of teams interested in Trey.
Yeah, I think it's going to take, from what I've seen, at least a second-round pick to get him. Another guy that's probably going to take an extension wherever he goes, depending on it. Like, if some Super Bowl contending team, takes him, he might play out 1 year and see where it goes from there. But most likely ends up with him getting an extension from wherever he goes. When I see his name and picture him, I can't not see Washington Commanders for some reason. I just feel like I can see him there, whether they end up getting him or not. There's a lot of teams that are going to be in the mix for him, but for some reason I just feel like Washington's going to get it done.
I think the Bears have an interesting opportunity because they could get away with giving away a second-round pick by doing a pick swap. So Cincinnati would move up from 17 to 10, and then I'm sure you'd probably have to throw in a fifth rounder, or maybe a fourth rounder in there, something like that. But I think that provides an interesting edge for the Bears, and there's an obvious need there too. Now, another way to address the defensive line for the Bears again, Titans are releasing pass rusher Harold Landry. He obviously is still a very productive vet. I think there's a lot of value with him left still for teams that need help on the line. Anything you want to add here?
I like Harold Landry. I think he is a good fit in Chicago as maybe one of those second or third options if they don't land some of the guys that they really want. But I think he would be just fine stepping in. Good pass rusher, pretty consistent. And I don't think it's going to cost an arm and a leg to sign him, which I like. But I could be very wrong on that. You never know how these contracts play out. But definitely an intriguing option that got added to the free agency mix here.
Yeah, first guy's going to set the tone on what the market looks like, right?
Really, and we'll get to it later on, kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with Myles Garrett. And now that one of those dominoes has fallen, we should see a lot of dominoes fall. I'm guessing pretty early tomorrow once the teams start kind of exchanging contracts and numbers with free agents. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Not like they haven't already.
Yep, true. Commanders are releasing Jonathan Allen, another really productive. He's a little bit on the older side. I think he's over the hill of 30 for sure. Just like Sean said, I think Jonathan Allen's another situation here where, like, if you whiff on your first, your guy that's first on your board, he could be a really nice guy as a second or third option. Anything you want to add on Jonathan Allen?
He is 30 as of January. Good interior defensive lineman, 2-time Pro Bowler. Not to make this all about the Bears, but would fill a big hole for them if that's the route they go. Whether they get wherever he is on their board, like he'd be a good fit for the Bears, but he'll be a good fit for a lot of teams too.
Him and Dexter together would be really nice. Now, a team that's made a lot of moves in regards to clearing cap space and getting rid of guys, Jaguars. They have released Evan Ingram, Devin Duvernay, and Josh Reynolds. They also traded Christian Kirk to the Texans, who they were about to release as well, and then the Texans just kind of threw them. I think it was like a 6th-round pick or something. Totally a cap space move. I remember when this was like 2 or 3 years ago. It was when they signed Christian Kirk. They just threw a ton of money out to receivers, and it seems like it's kind of bit them a little bit. So clearing some cap space for the Jaguars. It'll be interesting to see what they do with all this cap space now.
I got nothing for them.
You don't like the Jaguars?
Duval. That's the only thing I like about them.
Kind of. This one's kind of an underrated storyline here. Chargers releasing Joey Bosa. A lot of people are speculating that he's going to go play with his brother in San Francisco. I think there's a chance of it. I also think there's a chance of it that somebody throws him more money than he was expecting. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Joey Bosa.
Fun fact about Joey Bosa: he was the only guy left on the Chargers that had played in San Diego and LA for the Chargers. So,
I didn't know he played in San Diego. Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, his rookie year they were still in San Diego.
Wow. Bills release Von Miller. I have heard some smoke that they're just going to work out a new deal, so I don't think this is much of a story here. And then,
I was thinking this was my Myles Garrett team. When they released him today, I was like, oh, am I going to be a genius or am I going to be a genius? Are they clearing space for him? They did not.
No, they sure didn't. No. And that's because of this story here. So Browns, I don't know how the hell this happened, but they just as of like 20 minutes ago, me and Sean were literally just about to hop on the pod, and he announced that the Browns have extended Myles Garrett. All we can see so far, because this news literally is like 30 minutes old. It looks like it's averaging $40 million per year, and it includes over $120 million in guaranteed money. So he's now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. This is really interesting because the relationships seem to already be pretty sour, but this week things took even worse of a turn between Myles Garrett and the Cleveland front office. But somehow, I don't know how the hell this happened, but they got a deal done.
Yeah, I'm just kind of reading into recent tweets from Adam Schefter to see if there's anything of note regarding this signing since it happened, and he just basically said something along the lines of, Browns GM and Clutch Sports worked together over the last 36 hours to kind of, fix this and get Myles Garrett to come back to Cleveland. I know he likes Cleveland, but he talked so much about winning and making that a priority for this stage in his career, and then kind of just, came back completely on that statement and ended up staying in Cleveland. So, if he really wanted to win, I think he would have been playing elsewhere, but apparently, money talks and he's staying in Cleveland, which very, very surprising. I saw it was yesterday that Cleveland restructured Deshaun Watson's deal and didn't really think much of it, but maybe that helped them get to the finish line with Myles Garrett. And, it's funny how the NFL works. It's very me league where Max Crosby 24 hours ago, highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, had that title for probably not even 24 hours, and then Myles Garrett breaks that today. So,
Dude, even if you only include his guarantees, he breaks that. Like 123 guaranteed alone breaks Max Crosby's record. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it really is. So, congrats to Myles Garrett for getting paid, and I'm sure Micah Parsons will probably beat his record here in the near future.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So apparently it includes a no trade clause, and ties. Of
course it does.
and ties him to the Browns through the 2030 season. So really, really interesting how that all kind of just fell into place, because I thought for sure.
Huge wrinkle in NFL free agency and stuff now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time. Well, I mean, honestly, it helps the guys like Joey Bosa, maybe Von Miller, Jonathan Allen, Harold Landry, Trey Hendrickson. So he kind of did them all a favor.
Hendrickson's going to be he's the number one guy now.
Easily, yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of teams that need pass rush help. So it's probably going to be some painful contracts going out to some of these pass rushers. I know, and we can maybe talk about this later, but I know Khalil Mack's one of them, and they're projecting him to make over $20 million a season, and I'm just like, what?
At this point, yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah. All right, well, there's a lot of movement in the NFL. I'm sure some stuff's going to go down literally while we're recording this podcast, so if so, we'll continue to update you guys. But I'm going to let Sean take the shift here to the NHL trade deadline recap. There was, from what I was able to gather, Sean, it seemed like a pretty exciting, pretty active NHL trade deadline, but tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was pretty busy. With the whole Four Nations face-off break, we saw a little bit of moves happening before then, and then people were kind of speculating that it might be busy while the Four Nations was going on, but that didn't end up being true. But after that wrapped up and we got closer to the deadline, things picked up again. So, yeah, it was hard to keep track of all the moves that were actually made, but there were two that stood out to me as kind of the biggest moves, excluding I'm going to exclude Seth Jones and the Blackhawks from this list because we'll just talk about them specifically later on. But probably the biggest move, not probably, definitely the biggest move, and also kind of crazy just how this all unfolded is Mikko Rantanen was traded again, so he was traded twice this season. He was traded from Colorado to Carolina as part of a 3-team trade that the Blackhawks were involved with that sent Taylor Hall to Carolina. And then the Blackhawks retained Rantanen's salary so it could work in Carolina. Well, then things kind of went south with Rantanen in Carolina there, and he just wasn't playing well and kind of didn't really seem like the fit that they thought he was going to be. Martin Necas, who Carolina sent to Colorado, was playing much, much, much better than Rantanen was. So it opened the door. It opened the door for Carolina to look into trading Rantanen, and it was speculation for a while, then became very, very real, heading into about the last 24 to 48 hours of the trade deadline. And the interesting part about this whole situation is Rantanen's a free agent at the end of this year. He's a very, very good player, and so he was due for a large payday. So Carolina offered him a contract extension. I believe it was similar to what he got from Dallas, who he was traded to and ultimately ended up signing that extension with. But he ended up turning that down from Carolina, and then Carolina traded him to Dallas. So Carolina got 2 first-round picks, 2 third-round picks, and Logan Stankoven from Dallas for Mikko Rantanen, who also signed an 8-year, $12 million AAV contract extension. So he's in Dallas long-term. Dallas also, right after that, locked up one of their young players, Wyatt Johnston, to, I believe it was also an 8-year contract extension. Wild. So, yeah, really fun, exciting time to be a Dallas Stars fan right now. They're just probably have the best odds to win the Stanley Cup as of today, I would say. So for them to be able to take advantage of a very weird situation and be able to get a guy like Mikko Rantanen and then keep him was just crazy. And you know what? People can ridicule Carolina for the way that was handled. I thought they did pretty well for what they got out of that situation. I think you're looking at maybe some value that kind of got taken a hit just based off, him being traded so quickly multiple times. So yeah, so that was kind of the big one there. And then another one that stood out to me that was the last second Hail Mary, we'll call it, after the actual time for the deadline passed. But really, really surprising. The Bruins traded their captain, Brad Marchand. He spent 16 seasons with the Bruins, won a Stanley Cup with them. He was their captain since 2023, I want to say. So they sent him to the Florida Panthers in exchange for a 2027 conditional second-round pick. For a guy like Marchand, if you're a Bruins fan, that hurts to lose a guy like that. Yeah. And also getting a conditional second-round pick, not horrible, but Marchand means so much more to the Bruins than a second-round pick does, so you kind of have that emotional aspect to it too. Kind of an interesting situation with this one. Kind of a tough look if you're part of the Bruins front office, but Marchand and the Bruins were trying to work out a deal to keep him in Boston for quite some time, and then heading into the deadline, they were talking some more, and both parties had demands that they wanted met in order to make this work. And heading closer to the deadline, Marchand met with them again and basically said, hey, I'll relax a little bit on some of the things I want so we can get a deal worked out. Like, I want to stay here in Boston. And Boston did not want to bite on that, and they decided to trade him instead. So their GM came out and had a press conference after and was basically like, if I did my job, we would have been adding instead of subtracting, and should have been able to do that. But he could have kept Marchand and figure out different ways to try and improve the team. It's been a tough year for Boston in terms of their standard, but I think it's crazy what Florida was able to pull off at the trade deadline.
Dude, nuts. Yeah.
It comes with a little asterisk because Matthew Tkachuk's going on long-term IR, so they're hoping he can come back for the playoffs. But for them to be able to add Seth Jones and Brad Marchand, they're just gunning for another Stanley Cup. So good for them.
Yeah, some really key, valuable vets there. Sean, before we make the transition to NCAA men's basketball, looks like Shams just said LeBron James is expected to miss at least 1 to 2 weeks with a groin strain. So could start to affect some of the Lakers' playoff positioning. So kind of interesting.
How about, since we're on that topic, and we're wrapped up with hockey, unless you had anything else that you wanted to add?
A lot, dude. I know a lot about hockey.
But how about the Mavericks' downfall since that trade?
You know what? I was going to joke about it.
Crap. Kyrie tore an ACL, done for the year.
Yeah.
AD played one game with them. Granted, he was awesome that game. Had 30 and 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Hasn't played since. Might not be coming back this year. Wow. Man. It was bad enough for them to make that trade and send out Luka Doncic, and then they just came back and got just castrated by injuries.
And I'm pretty sure they're not bad enough to... Yeah, they can't even tank for the first overall pick. They're 32-32. That sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's no man's land. That blows.
A familiar territory.
Yeah, literally Bulls fans, yeah. I was going to joke about it, too, when you were talking about, what a great time to be a Dallas Stars fan, because I'm like, man, thank God the Stars are doing everything right, because the Mavericks are doing everything wrong in Dallas.
Yeah, I didn't even really put 2 and 2 together there, but the Stars front office was probably like, hey, we got a chance to win over more fans than maybe we had before. Let's go out and make some noise, boys.
Yeah, we'll get people to attend games.
Stars, they usually draw good attendance, and not everyone watches hockey closely, so I'm sure that'll change now. They're probably they're going to have a nice little playoff run, and everyone's going to forget about the Mavericks soon in Dallas. But good news is football starts soon, and they got the Cowboys. They're great.
God, that's another nightmare. All right, let's dive into NCAA tournament. So some of the conference tournaments, I think we're just waiting on the SEC. Hasn't determined the seedings yet, but most of the conference
SEC is
tournaments
good.
are set.
Big Ten we don't have.
Big Ten. Some of them started. Some of them are set to begin. So what me and Sean thought might be fun is we're going to go through each conference tournament, and we don't really have to dive into why, but we're going to pick a winner for each conference tournament and see how many of these we get wrong by the time we record our next podcast. So, Sean, we're going to go in alphabetical order. You've got the same link I do. So let's start with the America East. Who do you like there?
All right, let's see here. Just doing a little bit of research while we're going here.
That's not how this is supposed to work, Sean.
This is how it's going to work. I just want to see some head-to-heads here for my picks. All right, I'm good. I'm going to go with Bryant, the number 1 seed.
Wow. I'm going to go with Vermont. I feel like I've seen Vermont in March Madness quite a bit lately, so I'm going to pick Vermont. They're actually the 2 seed. All right, the American tournament. This one we actually don't have the teams filled in on this bracket. But
I'm gonna go with Memphis. They're ranked 16-2 on the year. Who do they lose to? Oh no, they're 26-5. They're 16-2 in conference.
Yeah, in conference, yeah.
So who do they lose to in conference?
I'll take the next best team. I'm going to take North Texas. They're 14-3 in conference, 23-6 on the year, and they're actually going into this tournament on a 7-game winning streak. So I'll take North Texas here.
Oh, I thought we weren't supposed to do research.
I just know that. I'm a big North Texas guy. ACC tournament.
You can't even pick your boys. They didn't make it.
They didn't make it. I know the ACC doesn't usually result in like the top seed winning that tournament.
Yeah.
I think I'm actually going to say Clemson here.
Damn, that was my pick too.
Yeah.
Duke is definitely the best team in the ACC, but I feel like they wouldn't be mad if they just lost and had a little bit of rest heading into March Madness. You know,
Louisville's pretty solid too. Louisville's had a really nice season.
Yeah. Clemson's kind of been the hot team, I feel like, the last month or so.
Yeah.
Like
they're riding
kind
a
of
win
really
streak right now.
Yep. So I kind of like, March is not necessarily about who's the best, but who's kind of hot at the right time. And I feel like Clemson, they got either Florida State, Syracuse, or SMU in the first round. They could beat any of those teams, and then possibly Louisville next.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see how that goes, but I like Clemson there too.
ASUN tournament's already well underway. They already have the championship game, so it's down to number 1 seed Lipscomb or number 2 seed North Alabama. I think they have the same exact record. Oh, same exact record and same conference record: 24-9 and 14-4. Fuck it. I'll say North Alabama. I've been riding with a lot of 2 seeds. I'll say North Alabama.
I'll go with Lipscomb.
Okay. Atlantic 10. This tournament has not started yet. And VCU is the 1 seed. George Mason, Dayton, and Loyola in Chicago is the 4 seed.
Yep. I'm going to go with Dayton. I feel like Dayton's usually a pretty good team come March, and they've found their way into the NCAA tournament a handful of times recently. So I'm going to go with the Flyers.
Okay. Man, I'm so tempted to pick George Mason just because, they were such a fun story back when Jim Larinaga was there. VCU's obviously consistently been good. Fuck it. Let's go George Mason. I'll take George Mason for the A10. Big East. I'll just do top 3 seeds: St. John's, Creighton, and UConn.
This should be a fun tournament.
Yeah.
Side note. Oh man.
St. John's, what a hell of a year.
I know.
This year.
I know. I think they don't care if they lose either, though.
Yeah.
Gosh. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Marquette.
Dude, that was my sleeper pick.
Yeah. It was between Creighton and Marquette for me.
You know what though? Here's why. I think Marquette has a lot to play for in terms of March Madness seedings, right? They're already ranked. They're 22-9, 13-7 in conference, 20th in the nation right now. So I think that if they have a really strong tournament, that could help their tournament seedings a lot. So
they just had a brutal loss to St. John's too on a buzzer beater. So
yeah,
maybe that kind of wakes them up a little bit. They lost to UConn the game before that as well. So I think they were preseason top 10, or maybe they were in the top 10 in the first few weeks.
If they win their first
season,
game against Xavier, if they win their first game against Xavier, they get to play St. John's again on this Friday. So,
yep,
that could be a fun one. Big Sky. Let's just do top 3 seeds again. Northern Colorado, Montana, and Portland State.
Okay. Some of those games are today. I'm gonna go with Montana.
Same. The Grizz, baby. Montana Grizz. All right.
Tuesday, 11:30 p.m. semifinals. I'll make sure I stay up for that.
Big South, we already have the championship set. It's High Point and Winthrop.
I'm just gonna take High Point.
Okay, I'll just take Winthrop for the fun of it. High Point, 28-5 on the year, though. Really, really nice year for them.
Some would say they're finding their high point.
Wow. You're done.
Yeah.
Big Ten. Now, the seedings aren't set, but I'll just give, according to conference record, the top 4 teams. Michigan State, Michigan, Maryland, and Wisconsin.
Who would have predicted that at the start of the year?
I know. I'm going to have a surprise pick, actually.
I think I'm going to go with Wisconsin.
Okay.
I think they're playing pretty good. I think they're a team that could benefit a lot from a nice little conference tournament run heading into March Madness. I think that would build some boost. Not that they need it because they've been playing well, but just give them a little bit of momentum heading into March. They've been a team that has had some marches to forget recently, so I think they'll try to make a little run here in the Big Ten and carry that momentum into the big dance.
I really want to pick Illinois here. I think they've got some nice pieces, but I'm actually going to pick UCLA. And the reason being they're 5-2 against AP ranked teams. So, I mean, Big Ten's got Michigan State, Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Purdue who are all ranked this year. So I'll take UCLA here. Big 12 tournament. This one could also be pretty interesting here.
Yeah, this should be a fun tournament.
The top seeds, top 4, Houston, Texas Tech, Arizona, and BYU.
I'm actually going to go a little bit lower, and I'm going to go with Iowa State.
Okay.
Iowa State was on fire a few weeks ago. Been a little bit rocky since. I think they kind of right the ship here a little bit in conference tournament play, and I think they're going to be a team to watch. Not to win it all, but a team to watch to make a little bit of a run in March Madness.
I like that. I'm going to ride the team that's been really hot, just like the last 3 to 4 years alone. They've also made some pretty nice tournament runs. I'm going to say Houston here. Mm-hmm. Big West. No games have started yet. Okay, so the top 2 seeds are UC San Diego and UC Irvine.
I'll go UC San Diego.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, yeah, dog. Okay. UC Irvine, Anteaters, baby. I'm riding with UC Irvine all day. Coastal Athletic. We've got top 3 seeds are Towson, UNC Wilmington, and College of Charleston.
Let's see.
It's a pretty top-heavy conference. I mean, like literally, dude, only the top 1, 2, 3. Only the top 5 teams have winning records. No, only the top 4 teams have winning records. Every other team in that, not even conference, like every other team has a losing record.
I'm gonna go with Towson. I'm just gonna take the 1 seed.
I'll take UNC Wilmington. Oh man, they're the Seahawks. I shouldn't have done that. Oh well, here we are. Conference USA. Conference USA, top 4 seeds: Liberty, Jacksonville State, Middle Tennessee, and Kennesaw State. Oh, they got New Mexico State in there too. Damn, they got some dogs.
I'm going to take Middle Tennessee. I know nothing about them, but I envision them playing in March Madness.
Their basketball team's been pretty good lately. They're 21-10 on the year, 12-6 in conference.
Not bad.
I'm going to take Liberty. I kind of think they're a powerhouse of this conference. They're 25-6 overall, 13-5 in conference. So I will take Liberty here. Horizon League. Let's do top 4 seeds. Oh, this is really interesting. Oh, because this tournament already started. Okay. Yeah. So the 4 teams that are left: Robert Morris, Oakland, Cleveland State, and Youngstown State.
When you get a chance to take the Penguins, you got to take the Penguins. I'm going with Youngstown State.
I'm going to say Cleveland State because I used to play them back when they had the NCAA men's basketball. I used to rock with Cleveland State, so I'll say Cleveland State. Ivy League, there's only 4 teams in the whole tournament. So we've got Yale, and all of these are in order whenever I name the teams too. So we've got Yale, Cornell, Dartmouth, and Princeton.
I'm going to go with Yale. I watched them a little bit earlier this year because they played Akron, and they got a decent squad, so I'm going to roll with Yale.
Oh, interesting. So only half their teams make their conference tournament. I wonder why they do that. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It seems like Yale's kind of running away with it this year in their conference, so I'll rock with Yale too. All right, Metro Atlantic. We've got Quinnipiac, we've got Merrimack, Marist, and Iona. Oh my God.
What about Khalil Mack?
I don't know any of these teams. Jesus, this conference is tough.
I am going to go with Iona.
Oh, this is where St. Peter's, that underdog from, I think last year, 2 years ago, came from. Iona, okay. That's interesting. They're 15-16 on the year. But
seasons are made in March.
They are 12-8 in conference, so they do win conference games. I'll say Marist for the Metro Atlantic. All right, Sean, this is where you shine right here. The MAC tournament. We've got Akron as the 1 seed, Miami, Ohio as the 2 seed, Kent State as the 3, and Toledo as the 4. That's backwards.
I know, but it's not for me.
No, it
going with
wasn't
Akron.
Backwards. Yeah, I mean, they are the powerhouse of this conference.
Akron, as someone who maybe some people don't know, I went to Akron, so very familiar with their basketball team. They got a squad this year loaded up in the portal. Got a bunch of guys from like North Carolina, West Virginia, so they got a really good team. I think they're not only capable of winning the MAC, but I think they could win a game or two in March Madness too, depending on who they draw. So I'm going with Akron.
They're 16-0 at home this year. That's pretty wild. Yeah, I'll rock with Akron. They're 25-6 on the year, 17-1 in conference, and they do have a history in March too. Do they still have? Who was their head coach from University of Illinois? Is he still their coach?
Yeah, he's still their coach.
Oh, okay. So there's continuity. Yeah, so there's continuity there too, which always helps. I don't even know how to say this. The Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. I don't know if it's MEAC or how this is pronounced, but we've got Norfolk State, we've got South Carolina State, Delaware State, and Howard. Howard was also
South Carolina State.
Howard was also a Cinderella team from a while ago. I mean they're riding a 9-game winning streak right now. They're only 18-12 on the year. Damn. So they were 9-12 at one point, and they just won 9 straight. That's pretty impressive. All right, getting hot at the right time. South Carolina State. I like it. Oh, man. Missouri Valley, Illinois State. They looked so good their first game. They were up by 20. Second game, they were down by 26 at one point. Lost by 13, but can't pick them, so it doesn't matter. Top 2 seeds are left. We've got Drake and Bradley.
I got Drake. Drake's another team I think that could win a game in March Madness, too.
Yeah, fuck Bradley. I'll take Drake. We don't like them at all.
All right, tell me how you really feel.
Fuck Bradley. All right, Mountain West. We have top 4 seeds: New Mexico, Colorado State, Utah State, and San Diego State. Damn, this is going to be a fun tournament. You've got Boise State as the 5 seed, too.
I know. I was going to say, I think I'm going to go Boise.
Mountain West.
It's the year of the Broncos.
Yeah. They had a pretty solid year. 22-9, 14-6 in conference. Let's see who's hot. Colorado State has won 7 games in a row. Ooh. New Mexico's got a great history of tournament runs. I'm going to rock with New Mexico. I feel like they make March Madness runs quite often.
Yeah.
Northeast Conference, we are in the championship. We've got Central Connecticut and St. Francis.
I'm going to go with St. Francis.
Another team with a losing record on the year.
Don't
15
matter.
and 17. Sean likes those Cinderella stories. I'll take Central Connecticut. They're also the Blue Devils. Didn't know that. Interesting. Ohio Valley.
I got SIU Edwardsville.
Yeah, we have a winner. It's SIU Edwardsville. That one doesn't matter. Patriot League. Bucknell is the 1 seed. American is the 2. Colgate is the 3. And then the final team that's left is Navy at the 5.
I'm going to go Colgate.
Okay. I think I am going to rock with American here. Damn, Bucknell was riding a win streak of 7 wins in a row. All right, screw it. I'll just take American. SEC, Sean, do you want Florida to win this, or do you want them to just kind of like go into March healthy?
I'm good with coasting here.
Coasting as in going into March healthy?
Yeah, like if they lose, I don't care. I'm torn between, because I think Auburn's under the same boat. I'm torn between Alabama and Tennessee. I think I'm going to take Alabama.
Yeah, that's what I was picking too, dude. I think Alabama is a very similar situation as like a Marquette, where, you know, if they make a deep run here, they could really help their tournament seed. So, and they've had a good year. I mean, they're 7th overall right now. So,
and they just beat Auburn yesterday. So
yeah, getting hot at the right
time.
time.
I think I'm gonna go with Alabama.
Yeah, same. All right, Southern Conference, 4 teams that are left: Chattanooga, Furman, VMI, and Wofford.
I'm just gonna go with Chattanooga.
They're 24-8 on the year. I think they made a pretty nice tournament run last year or the year before. So, oh damn, they actually have some Cinderella stories in this conference. Samford made the run a little while back. Furman, Wofford, Mercer too. Damn. Chattanooga, I'm gonna rock with them too. Southland Conference, we are top 4 teams: McNeese, Lamar, Nichols, and Northwestern State.
We can look at the top 4 teams, but one thing people are going to be talking about years from now is the unbelievable run that Incarnate Word goes on in this tournament, coming out as a 7th seed and winning it all.
Are you actually picking them?
Yeah, I'm going with Incarnate Word.
Cam Ward is so proud of you,
I gotta
Sean.
have some fun.
Wow. Cam Ward's just smiling right now listening to our podcast. They are
I heard that's the school he's going to be repping in the draft.
Oh, yeah. Okay. They're 16-15 on the year, so not terrible.
Above 500.
I'll pick the Lamar Cardinals. I could rock with that. All right, we've got Southwestern Athletic Conference. Top 4 seeds: Southern, Jackson State, Bethune-Cookman, and Texas Southern.
Southern what?
Just Southern.
Yeah. I'm going to go Bethune-Cookman.
I kind of want you to. That's always an interesting team. And I think that's the college that Ed Reed coached at for a little while before he left. I'll rock with Bethune-Cookman with you. Summit League. We are down to the championship game. Omaha and St. Thomas.
Yeah, so St. Thomas isn't eligible, so Omaha's going to go to the tournament no matter what. But I think Omaha's also going to win. From transitioning up, they were D3.
Oh, I thought it was like some crazy story. Damn.
Nope. But I think Omaha was going to win no matter what, so I'm going to stick with Omaha. But Omaha's already got the bid to March Madness.
Dude, that kind of sucks for them. Oh, it's because North Dakota State's in there. That's why you know all about this tournament or this conference. Got it. Oh yeah, they've got a lot of Missouri Valley football teams in here. North Dakota, South Dakota, North Dakota State, and South Dakota State. Interesting. Wow, that sucks for St. Thomas. All right, well, Omaha it is. Sun Belt. We are in the semifinals here. South Alabama, Arkansas State, James Madison, and Troy.
Why do they have to make their bracket like this?
Yeah, dude, this is weird.
I'll go with James Madison.
Okay.
South Alabama's got a squad too. I've seen them play earlier this year.
I'm going to take Arkansas State, actually, for the Sun Belt. West Coast Conference, we have top 4 seeds. St. Mary's, Gonzaga, San Francisco, and Santa Clara. I feel like it's always these same teams in this conference. I'm
going to go with St. Mary's.
I haven't heard much about Gonzaga this year. I want to see where they're at. Let's see. West Coast Conference, St. Mary's 27-4. Damn. Gonzaga 23-8. St. Mary's is the only ranked team. Yeah, I'll rock with St. Mary's too. All right. We've got the WAC. Top 4 teams are Utah Valley, Grand Canyon, let's go, California Baptist, and Abilene Christian.
You know, people are thinking about Utah Tech this time of year.
Yeah, 6-25. Utah Tech and Miami are going to play in their own tournament.
Oh, I'm going to go with Grand Canyon.
I am too. They're a lot of fun to watch. That's pretty much the only team I have to hang on to this year, so I'm going to rock with GCU. 16-1 at home, 23-7 overall, 13-3 in conference. Utah Valley's on an 8-game win streak though. That's pretty nice going into March.
They're 15-1 in conference.
Yeah. That is all we have. Our next episode, we're actually going to do after the conference tournaments once the bracket is set. So we'll record our next episode, not tomorrow on March 10th, but the following Monday, so March 17th. Let's dive into some Chicago topics. And I know we kind of talked a lot of hockey right before we dove into March Madness, but we didn't talk about Chicago Blackhawks moves. So, Sean, do you want to just give like a recap of the Blackhawks trade deadline and maybe any other storylines that are happening?
Yeah, so Blackhawks were able to move Seth Jones. I alluded to it earlier in the episode. So they got back more than I thought they would, given the situation with him having so much money tied to him and him publicly demanding a trade and talking to the media, things like that. I thought that was going to kind of water down his value, but it ended up Blackhawks ended up doing well. So they traded Seth Jones to the Florida Panthers, like I mentioned. They also sent a 2026 fourth-round pick to Florida. And the Blackhawks are retaining $2.5 million of Seth Jones' salary. I believe it's for the next 5 years. And then, so the Blackhawks in return got goaltender Spencer Knight in a 2026 or 2027 first-round pick. It's the Florida Panthers pick, so you can pretty much just say that's going to be a high 2. Yeah. So Spencer Knight obviously is a big headliner, and he has already started 2 games for the Blackhawks, and they are 2-0 in those games. So, so far, small sample size, but he's got a 95.1% save percentage and a 1.96 goals against average in his 2 starts with the Blackhawks. First game he started against the LA Kings, gave up 1 goal, saved 41 of 42 shots.
He was nasty.
Then was part of a win, overtime win against Utah the other night. Gave up a few more goals in that one, but still kept the Blackhawks in the game. And obviously a game they ultimately won. So he's been good. The team has kind of rallied around bringing him in. There has been, I believe Bedard said it, and I want to say maybe someone else said it, where they basically were like, we got our guy for the future now. Like, we're really excited to have him here. Sounds like the Blackhawks are going to roll with the tandem of Knight and Soderblom for the rest of the year. They'll just kind of split time between those two. As of now, they've been playing every other game. Yeah. Kind of a good tandem for them to have. Spencer Knight, he's a guy that's had a little bit of an up and down career, dealt with some off the ice issues, has kind of gotten that in check. But he was once viewed as like the premier goaltending prospect. He's played pretty damn well. He's won a Stanley Cup with Florida. And even though he split time with Bobrovsky over there, like he still made the most of his opportunities, and now he gets a chance to come to Chicago and be the guy. He's pumped about playing for Original Six franchise, loves the city of Chicago, has experience playing with Alex Vlasic and Landon Slaggert as well, so not all strangers for him here in Chicago. But yeah, so far the returns have been looking great on him, and hoping he keeps playing well. And wouldn't be surprising to see the Blackhawks lock him up long term in the near future. So yeah, kind of nice for them to be able to, what seems like, a lot can change, but it seems like they were able to iron out who their goalie of the future is going to be, and that's a big thing to do. So
yeah,
definitely
so far
he's
looked excellent so far.
Yep. So that was their big one that they made, and then obviously bringing in another goalie, they had Petr Mrazek as well. So it was kind of clear that he was going to be shopped, and he's got, I believe, $4.5 million AAV is what he makes, which is kind of a lot for him. So it wasn't going to be easy to move him, but they were able to do it, and they sent him to the Detroit Red Wings along with Craig Smith for center Joe Veleno. Joe Veleno is a 25-year-old former first-round pick. He has 74 points in 288 games with Detroit, so kind of a lot left to be desired there. But he's under contract through next season. Detroit took on all of Mrazek's contracts, so Blackhawks are wiped clean. All their retention spots are filled, so they weren't going to be able to retain anything anyways. So it was going to be tricky figuring out who could take on all of that. But Veleno, he's 25 years old, so he's still young. He's a two-way center, so that'll be a welcomed addition. He's under contract through next season, so hey, let's see what we got in him. Maybe change of scenery helps him a little bit. Definitely a good kind of fourth liner for Chicago. So he made his debut last night, and didn't tally any points or anything like that, but had a few hits and won some faceoffs and stuff for them. So things that we like to see. And then last trade that the Blackhawks made was an interesting one. They sent the Utah Hockey Club a 2026 fifth-round pick in exchange for forward Aku Reiti, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, defenseman Victor Soderstrom, and Shea Weber's contract. So
yeah,
Soderstrom is sort of an intriguing prospect, but this might not really end up doing much for the Hawks. Taking on Weber's contract, he's already retired. He's a member of the Hall of Fame. It'll help him hit the salary floor next year if they miss out on some of the higher-priced free agents. So kind of doesn't really do any harm for them, but helps them hit that salary floor if needed. So yeah, that was kind of their moves that they made. And then if you want to look at the moves they didn't make, obviously they did not trade Ryan Donato. They were hoping to get something for him. It sounded like they might be able to get a first-round pick. Maybe that ended up not being the case, but they kept Ryan Donato. So I was team trade Donato, but at this point they might as well extend him because if they lose him for nothing, then that's kind of a head-scratcher and almost like a mismanagement of resources there. But so he's still around, so kind of hoping they keep him for the next 3 or 4 years.
The salary cap's going up too, I believe. So even if you extend him, like his contract could look affordable in the future, and then,
Well, I would hope it's affordable as it is.
Yes, but he's having, if I remember correctly, he's having a career year. So some people, he's not.
No, he is.
Yeah. So he's going to make more money than he should have before this season. So the salary cap going up, could help the numbers on his contract, and this could be something that they could revisit again, in the future. But
he's having a career year, 28 years old, I believe. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I just kind of worry about him having a career year and what he's going to get. He'll get a pay bump. I don't think he's earned a significant one, but we'll see what that ends up looking like. I think they'll probably sign him for, if they do agree to an extension, I'm guessing it'll be 3 or 4 years. And then, hey, if he keeps playing well and who he is this year is who he ends up being, maybe the Hawks can look at flipping him down a couple years down the line, and that contract that he signed to looks like a bargain, or maybe he is a part of the team moving forward. So there's kind of.
It'll be interesting too, because aren't they going head coach hunting this offseason too?
Yeah, they still need a head coach.
So we'll see what the new head coach thinks of Ryan Donato and kind of where they put him in terms of where he's going to play on a daily basis. So just an interesting situation overall. I was kind of hoping they were going to trade him. They really had nothing to lose by moving him, but we'll see how I feel like they have to extend him now in the offseason.
I know they've been talking numbers and stuff, but we'll see if it ends up getting done. As much as I was trade Donato, at the same time too, the Blackhawks do need to turn a corner. They can't just trade everyone. They got to keep guys around at some point and really start taking that next step towards winning and building a talented roster. So it's not the end of the world that Donato's around, and if he's the guy that he is this year, he'll be a good guy to have. So we'll see what happens.
Cool.
And then just other thing of note, pretty crazy thing that's going on in the farm system for the Blackhawks. Prospect Nick Lardis scored his 70th goal of the season last night. He plays in the Ontario Hockey League, 19 years old. He is the 8th player in OHL history to score 70 goals in a season. Insane. First to do it since John Tavares did it in the 2006-2007 season. I believe Tavares was 16 when he did that. So pretty good company to be in. Pretty wild what he's been able to do this year. He played in the OHL last year too, so definitely familiar with that. Obviously getting a little bit older in that league, but still, 70 goals in a season is pretty crazy.
Now, why wouldn't they call him up? Is he just too young, doesn't have enough experience? Is that what it boils down to?
Yeah, no one really saw a 70-goal season coming. But, it's a tough jump from any league really to the NHL. So he's undersized too, so it's not like he's going to go up there and, be physical and dominant in anything close to that nature. Just definitely needs to do some more seasoning in the minor leagues and or junior hockey, I should say, would be the formal way to put it, and kind of round out his game. But I think the Hawks signed him to an entry-level deal. Let me double check on that. I thought they did that earlier this year. Yes, they did in April. So, theoretically, they could call him up, but I don't anticipate that happening, even with everything that he's doing. Blackhawks have some guys in college that'll probably be making their way over to the NHL at the end of their season, so they'll probably kind of prep to have those guys there, but I don't think we'll see a guy like Nick Lardis make his way to the NHL this year.
That's why I asked, because I feel like it's prime opportunity now for the Blackhawks to call up a lot of the younger guys just to see what they have. Very similar to how the White Sox are going to approach most of this season.
And they got a lot of young guys on the team now. They've done a pretty good job of keeping those guys around. But, they're playing better. The team's watchable now that they have Spencer Knight, too. I've kind of just been watching his starts and not being quite as invested. But the team has let me look it up. I want to say
they're 3-0-1 since they traded Seth Jones.
Yeah, they've got a point in a handful of games in a row. Let's see. They got 1, 2, 3. 3 games in a row. They've gotten at least 1 point. Got some tough games coming up, but looks like if they keep the schedule they're going with, Spencer Knight should start Monday against Colorado, so be a good test for him. I was laughing when he made his first start and he was seeing 40 shots on goal. I was like, he's probably regretting this trade already. But
get ready, buddy.
No, it's good. They've been more watchable and playing better. And Bedard had a pretty good weekend. He had a goal and an assist the other night, overtime winner, which was nice, and then had an assist last night as well. So
nice. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into. We're not going to dive into any Bulls or White Sox talk on this episode. There's really not much to dive into with those two teams right now. But let's talk about the Bears. So they made a couple really interesting unexpected trades, I would say, would be fitting for both of them. Me and Sean just kind of woke up and saw the trades and we were like, wait, what? In a good way. Now, first one, let's dive into Jonah Jackson. So they acquired Jonah Jackson from the Rams in exchange for a 2025 sixth round draft pick. Now, Ben Johnson's familiar with Jackson. He played under Ben Johnson in Detroit before he went to LA. He can play either center or guard, so there is some flexibility there with him. I really like this move. I think that it gives the Bears a lot of flexibility with how they want to approach the offensive line. Before we dive into the next move, Sean, what's your opinion on Jonah Jackson?
It cost a sixth round draft pick to get a guy as a former Pro Bowler, get a guy Ben Johnson's familiar with. Kind of comes from that stable of good offensive lines that they've had in Detroit. Obviously was banged up a little bit last year with the Rams, but was healthy and was active. I believe since November they just didn't play him due to some continuity with their line and stuff, or maybe it was December that he came back. But I think that's a pretty big improvement for the Bears. I love the flexibility and gave up minimal assets to be able to do that. So good for them. Interior offensive line was going to be a huge need for them to address. And Ben Johnson even came out and said, Caleb's development starts with having a demanding presence at center. Whether Jackson ends up being that guy or not, or they go get a real legit center, we'll see. But we're already kind of trending towards having a much better offensive line.
And Ben Johnson's offense, there's a lot of movement with the line too. So it's really helpful to know, Ben Johnson knows Jonah Jackson can move and he can shift and shuffle however he needs him to. So that helps too. Now, a move I did not see coming at all.
No.
Whatsoever. Bears sent a 2026 fourth round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs for all-pro guard Joe Thuney. Now, there was no secret that the Bears were trying to make a big splash on the offensive line. They were attached to Trey Smith for a while, and things didn't end up working out there. So Ryan Poles, a lot of credit goes to him. He pivoted, asked Kansas City, hey, what about Joe Thuney? Now he's a Bear. This is a phenomenal move by the Bears front office. It sounds like they're trying to work out an extension with him. He's already, kind of in the tail end of his career, but he's still very, very productive for his age, and he brings an awesome presence into our clubhouse. Very clear leader, which we needed really bad. A winner. He's played in 6 Super Bowls. He's won 4 of them. Awesome move by the Bears here.
Yeah, I obviously really hope they can extend him because it'll make this move look that much better, but to be completely honest with you, and I'm not just saying this because it's the guy they got, I would much rather have Thuney than Trey Smith. I would much rather have Joe Thuney on the Bears than Trey Smith. Obviously, Trey Smith's younger. He's going to be signed to a longer-term deal. He's going to be, guaranteed to be on the team for X amount of years, however much he ends up signing with, most likely the Chiefs at this point. But Thuney is probably the best offensive lineman that Kansas City had. And then you factor in all the leadership and all that stuff too. And for a team that has a young quarterback, a first-year head coach, team that's looking to turn the corner, this is the kind of guy you want to bring in, and the kind of guy that makes a difference, not just on the field, but off the field, in the locker room, all that stuff. He checks just about every box that that the Bears would need. And offensive line's obviously a tough position. Knock on wood, he doesn't miss games. He is always available, and people always say the best ability is availability. Well, you got a guy that can do that for you.
Yeah, and he hardly gets penalized too. I think they said that he had 2 penalties last year, or maybe even the last 2 years. So he's not going to cost you in games either. So phenomenal move by Ryan Poles there. Last piece. The Bears re-signed a couple special teamers, Josh Blackwell and Amen Ogbongbaniga, and also signed Durham Smythe. Now, Durham Smythe, tight end from Miami Dolphins, he's basically going to be a pass-blocking tight end. This makes me
worked with Ben Johnson there too.
This makes me think they're going to go tight end at some point in the draft. I'd be thrilled if they drafted the tight end out of Miami. That dude's going to be a beast, but they might have to reach for that, so I don't know if I necessarily want that either. But Josh Blackwell and Amen Ogbongbemiga have been very productive special teamers, very, very productive special teamers. So nice to bring them back. They're not guys that are going to play a ton, but, you don't want to have a bad special teams, and Bears have always, I feel like they've always focused on their special teams, in most of our lifetime, at least when you get rid of the kicker situation sometimes. Their special teams has been pretty solid. So 2 guys that they're bringing back and 1 guy that they're bringing in.
Yeah, retained our special teams coordinator as well. So obviously 2 guys that Hightower's very familiar with. And, I don't personally know the whole X's and O's about special teams or anything like that, but I know a lot of people that do were pretty happy with these signings. So
yep.
Good for the Bears. And yeah, Durham Smythe, don't really know much about him other than worked with Ben Johnson in Miami, pass blocking tight end, comes from Notre Dame, which has been kind of a tight end factory. So you kind of like what he's probably learned and been coached to do over the years. So it'll be good to have that extra protection for Caleb whenever he's on the field.
He played with Cole Kmet at Notre Dame too, I'm pretty sure. So, those are the small moves, as the big moves are going to continue to happen starting tomorrow and Wednesday and throughout the week. So, should be an exciting time for Bears fans this week. We've got money to spend. I wouldn't be shocked to see another trade go down. And I wouldn't be shocked to see the Bears trade down in the draft, in all honesty. But we'll see. We'll find out. I think that's it. Is there anything else you wanted to dive into on this episode?
No, nothing at all. Got all my takes off.
Good. Well, you're going to come up with a new one. Something's going to pop up on our phones within 5 minutes of us getting off this episode. But thanks again for tuning in, guys.
We'll trade for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, right. And work both quarterbacks. We appreciate you guys for tuning in again this week. We'll have another episode. We're going to record on Monday, March 17th. So, just outside of a week from now. But, as always, if there's anything you want us to dive into, shoot us a message, let us know. But y'all take care and get ready for March Madness, baby.
Yeah. Enjoy conference tournaments. Enjoy, NFL free agency. It'll be a fun week.
It's going to be crazy. Awesome. Take care, guys.